So next, let's look at some examples of documentation and see if we can validate codes based on meet criteria and our additional diagnosis definitions. Just a few examples here of documentation of conditions that meet the criteria for reporting because the provider stated they were monitored, evaluated, assessed, and/or treated or impacted the care and management on the case. On our first example, the provider documents in the ED note the patient has hypovolemia, which improved on IV fluids. This was treated based on the documentation and would be coded. That one is pretty straightforward, so let's look at some others. On the second example, the progress note states interstitial lung disease, and the patient is maintained on prednisone. This also meets the criteria for reporting. In the third example, atrial fibrillation is documented in the H&P, and the provider states they will continue their medications. Again, this would be coded as an additional diagnosis. On our last example, the discharge summary lists a diagnosis of alcohol abuse, and the patient was referred for management. This also meets the meet criteria and would be coded. These are pretty straightforward because the provider did a good job of documenting these conditions are currently being treated.